My fiancé ran off with our wedding photographer, and now they are suing me for emotional damages. I countersued and left them begging. I'm a 32-year-old man, and I've spent the past few weeks struggling to digest how my life flipped upside down. My fiancé, who I genuinely believed I'd spend forever with, ran off of all people with a photographer we'd hired for our wedding. And as if that weren't absurd enough, they decided to sue me for emotional damages after I called them out publicly. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me rewind. I met my fiancée a little over a year ago at a local event. She was vibrant, witty, quick to laugh. I was smitten pretty fast, and soon we moved in together, planning a small wedding. Our families were supportive, and we found a modest venue that fit our style. Everything seemed on track. We ordered invitations, decided on a low-key reception with a limited guest list, wanting an intimate atmosphere. She insisted on booking a top-notch photographer, not the cheapest, but apparently worth it. I shrugged. Photos are important, so I agreed. That's how the photographer entered our orbit. He was younger than us, maybe late 20s, had a flamboyant flair, all about capturing the essence of love. My fiancé adored his portfolio, praising the romantic angles, the natural lighting approach. I found him a bit pretentious, but hey, I wanted my fiancé happy, so we signed a contract. The first official shoot was for our engagement pictures. He had us pose around scenic spots, giving overly dramatic direction. I tolerated it, seeing how excited my fiancée was. Even though I noticed she chatted with him quite warmly, I dismissed any concerns. Why be jealous? He was just the photographer, right? As the wedding day approached, my fiancée started spending more time texting the photographer, claiming she was discussing creative ideas. She'd show me a few messages about color schemes or photo ops. But I noticed she hid her screen often, saying, "It's just a surprise for you," or "I want some aspects to remain secret." I tried to trust her. Yet part of me found it odd how frequently they communicated, sometimes late at night. When I asked her if everything was fine, she'd shrug, telling me not to worry. Then, a week before the wedding, the bombshell dropped. I came home from errands to find her and the photographer in our living room. He wasn't behind a camera. He was leaning close, holding her hand, both wearing serious expressions. They froze when I walked in. My fiancé jumped up, saying he just stopped by to finalize some last-minute wedding details. But their body language screamed something else. I stared at them, an uneasy knot in my stomach. The photographer mumbled a goodbye, grabbing his bag and slipping out. She insisted it was nothing, that I was imagining things. But her defensive tone rang alarm bells. I confronted her that evening. She doubled down, claiming I was paranoid, that the photographer was only there to talk about a special photo surprise. But my gut said otherwise. Over the next days, I scoured for evidence, feeling guilty about snooping. I checked her phone logs, lots of calls with him, often for half an hour or more at odd times. That confirmed something deeper was happening. But with the wedding imminent, I debated whether to push or keep quiet. My father or mother, not relevant. Let it go. I guess I wanted to believe she wasn't cheating so close to our vows. The wedding day arrived. She seemed anxious. I chalked it up to nerves. The ceremony was small, lovely. We recited vows in front of a handful of friends. My father or mother, not relevant. The photographer was everywhere, snapping shots. I tried ignoring my suspicion, focusing on the moment. My fiancé's eyes glistened, but a weird undercurrent told me something felt off. Then we got to the reception. The mood was joyful, guests clinking glasses. The photographer was near my fiancé constantly, whispering, taking candid shots. She disappeared with him for a quick photo session outside. Time passed, and I realized they'd been gone for 20 minutes. That's when worry overcame me. I excused myself, stepped out, and caught them in a side corridor, standing way too close. She looked startled. He walked away briskly. My mind reeled. Did I just witness them being intimate at my own wedding? After the reception, I confronted her. We had an argument that escalated into tears. She insisted the photographer was comforting her because she felt emotional stress. I demanded to see their messages. She refused. We ended the night in tense silence, me fuming, her avoiding me. I tried not to blow up the wedding day, hoping it was a misunderstanding. But everything collapsed the morning after. I woke up to find a note on the kitchen table. I can't do this. I'm leaving. My ring sat next to it. She'd run off, no explanation. I called her phone repeatedly, no answer. My head spun. Did she just vanish post-wedding? Then a text popped up from a mutual friend. I'm so sorry, but I heard she's with a photographer. I nearly dropped my phone. She left me for the wedding photographer, literally the day after the ceremony. The betrayal seared. I tried calling her again, no luck. She messaged me days later, vaguely explaining she realized she had deeper feelings for him, that she couldn't go through with a marriage built on half-truths. My anger soared. She wrote that she was sorry, but nowhere did she mention returning the wedding expenses. She ghosted me again, presumably living with him. I was left humiliated, looking like a fool who married a woman who ran off with a hired help. The entire fiasco felt surreal. As if that wasn't enough, within 2 weeks, I got served legal papers. My ex-fiancée, since the marriage might be annulled or canceled, and the photographer were suing me for emotional damages, claiming I was harassing them and ruining their reputations by telling people she ran off with him. I laughed bitterly at the absurdity. They vanish with each other, then sue me for emotional damage? My first reaction was to post about it on social media, clarifying I wasn't harassing them. I was just telling the truth if people asked. But my father or mother, not relevant. Let them. Next step, I got a good lawyer. He reviewed the lawsuit, eyebrows raised, calling it laughably flimsy. The allegation said I slandered them by calling them out as an affair partner, that I threatened them physically, a blatant lie, and that I tarnished the photographer's business by telling wedding guests he seduced my fiancée. I explained to my lawyer that it wasn't slander if it's true. I had direct knowledge. She vanished after the wedding, was living with him. The business damage was self-inflicted. My father or mother, not relevant. The lawyer said, we can not only fight this, but countersue for the cost of the wedding, among other damages. That idea appealed to me. Why should I foot the bill for a wedding she walked out on the next day? Not to mention the emotional turmoil. The lawyer agreed we had grounds for a countersuit. So we prepared, meticulously gathering proof that they began an affair pre-wedding, that I spent thousands on a ceremony she effectively rendered void. During this time, the ex and the photographer had the audacity to show up at my house. They demanded I stop smearing them. She tried to brand me as a bitter ex who couldn't accept her choice. The photographer chimed in, claiming I was defaming him, risking his livelihood as a wedding photographer. I retorted, you did that yourself by hooking up with a bride you were hired to photograph. I told him to leave or I'd call the police for trespassing. They left in a huff, threatening I'd regret this in court. A few days later, we had the preliminary hearing for their lawsuit. My father or mother or not relevant. They showed up looking smug. Their attorney rattled off how I apparently spread malicious rumors, that they were forced to relocate the photographer's business. I nearly laughed out loud. My lawyer calmly presented the timeline. We offered the wedding contract, how he'd ended up in an affair with a bride, how she left me the day after, which wasn't rumor but fact. The judge listened, unimpressed with their emotional pleas. Then my lawyer presented our countersuit. He explained I'd paid for a wedding that turned into a farce, that I'd lost deposits. We also included evidence of them trying to sue me for an amount far exceeding any real harm. The judge scheduled a later date for a more thorough hearing, but he dismissed any immediate relief for them. Seeing their lawsuit flounder, the ex and the photographer turned desperate. The ex texted me, alternating between nasty insults and tearful apologies, claiming she still cared about me, that she was just confused. She said she'd drop the suit if I paid them a smaller sum like hush money. I refused, telling her I'd see them in court. The photographer wrote me an email threatening to destroy my reputation in the wedding scene. I found it hilarious. I'm not a wedding pro, so how could he ruin me? The sense of their entitlement was mind-boggling. In the meantime, our countersuit gained traction. My lawyer found we could claim restitution for the venue deposit, catering, and other non-refundable expenses. We also had a shot at punitive damages, given their malicious lawsuit. I provided receipts, canceled checks, even texts from my ex about how she persuaded me to invest in certain aspects of the wedding. We compiled everything in a neat folder. A friend of mine, someone who was at the wedding, testified how he saw the photographer flirting with my fiancée, how it seemed they were sneaking off. Another friend recalled how the day after the wedding, my bride vanished. The judge would see the bigger picture. They orchestrated or at least conspired in a deeply unethical scenario, then tried to extort me by claiming emotional damages. Our countersuit looked solid. The day of the full hearing arrived. Their attorney tried to paint me as an unstable, scorned husband who cyberbullied them. We responded by showing I posted nothing but factual statements, or told the truth to guests who inquired. No harassment, no defamation. My father or mother not relevant. The judge seemed unimpressed by their emotional claims. Then we presented our countersuit, a thorough breakdown of wedding expenses lost after she bailed, including deposit fees for the caterer, DJ, photographer, ironically, floral setups. We argued that since she walked out immediately, effectively nullifying the marriage, she should bear the cost. Additionally, we pointed out the vow of professional ethics the photographer broke, creating a conflict of interest, adding to the fiasco's financial harm. The ex and the photographer looked rattled. They tried a final trick, claiming I'd verbally abused my fiancée, causing her to flee. But when asked for evidence or witnesses, they stammered. My father or mother not relevant. The judge then asked how the photographer ended up living with my fiancée the day after. They had no coherent answer. The judge's expression said it all. He recognized a frivolous lawsuit. Eventually, the judge dismissed their suit entirely, calling it baseless. Then, addressing our countersuit, he found it reasonable that I'd be compensated for the wedding costs. The ex tried whining that I'd agreed to pay for the wedding. My lawyer pointed out that agreement presumed a legitimate wedding, not one overshadowed by an affair culminating in her immediate departure. The judge nodded, awarding me a sum covering the wedding expenses. He also tacked on a small punitive amount, citing the vexatious nature of their initial lawsuit. The ex shrieked, "This is unfair." The photographer looked stunned. Their attorney slumped in defeat. The final order spelled out they'd pay me the total wedding cost plus a bit extra for punitive damages, an amount that definitely wasn't trivial. The ex scowled, accusing me of profiting off heartbreak. The judge cut her off, reminding her that she tried to scam the court with a frivolous emotional damages claim. My father or mother not relevant. The hearing ended with me feeling triumphant, if a bit drained. Outside the courtroom, the ex confronted me, tears brimming, hissing that I'd ruined her financially. The photographer stood behind her, glaring. I retorted, "You ruined yourself by turning my wedding into your personal playground, then dragging me to court." She sputtered curses, threatened to never pay a dime. My lawyer calmly reminded them wage garnishment or property liens are real if they default. They stomped off, probably cursing me. In the weeks that followed, they tried appealing the decision, but it was denied quickly. My father or mother not relevant. People in the local wedding circuit heard the story. The photographer's reputation took a massive hit. Some couples canceled bookings, not wanting a vendor known for hooking up with brides and filing lawsuits. My ex found herself jobless, now saddled with the debt from the settlement. She tried a few times to contact me, claiming she'd pay in installments if I'd lighten the monthly sum. I refused to negotiate further. My lawyer handled all correspondence. He said if they default, we'd proceed with garnishments. Word on the street is they're scraping by, living in a small rental, their grand plan of emotional damages, lawsuit backfiring spectacularly. Meanwhile, I took a bit of solace in the financial restitution. Admittedly, no amount covers the heartbreak of losing a fiancé the day after your wedding. But at least justice prevailed. As for me, I survived the emotional storm, though scarred. I took time off to recenter, my father or mother not relevant. Leaning on supportive friends, I found a measure of acceptance. People asked if I'd date again soon. Probably not. Trust doesn't rebound quickly after betrayal. But I remain proud that I didn't let them crush me. They tried to exploit the system, claiming I caused them emotional distress, but truth came out. They ended up with a legal order to pay me, ironically leaving them the ones in distress. I won't pretend it's all roses. My bride's desertion after the wedding day left emotional wounds. Some nights, I recall how happy I felt at the start, how the future seemed bright. Then, the photographer overshadowed everything. But each day, the bitterness fades a bit more. The memory that I stood up for myself in court, countersued, and made them face real consequences is a small comfort. They discovered it's not so easy to scam an innocent party and waltz away unscathed. Sometimes, acquaintances ask if I regret not trying a calmer approach or settling out of court. My answer, absolutely not. They fired first with a ridiculous lawsuit, expecting me to fold. Instead, I turned the tables. If they had left me alone, I'd have licked my wounds quietly. But by taking me to court, they forced me to reveal all the ugly truth, culminating in a countersuit they never anticipated. That was entirely their doing. Nowadays, I continue my quiet routine. My father or mother not relevant. The fiasco taught me lessons about vigilance, about verifying who I'm entrusting my heart to. If there's a silver lining, it's that I discovered her disloyalty before we built a deeper, more entangled life. The financial compensation is a bonus, though I'd trade it to have avoided the heartbreak. But we can't rewrite history, only learn from it. At least, in the end, justice was served. She ran off with our wedding photographer, tried to sue me for emotional damages, but I countersued and left them begging. That's the real takeaway. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. They hoped to bully me into a settlement, but the evidence and the truth were on my side. The day the final check arrived from them, ironically paying for the wedding fiasco they caused, I felt a sense of closure. They reaped exactly what they sowed. And that's that. I'm moving forward, free from their manipulations, debt-free from wedding costs, and with a legal victory that validated my stance. They remain a cautionary tale in the local wedding circuit. Couples whisper about the photographer who seduced a bride, then got sued. Perfect cosmic justice. If they want to blame someone for their downfall, they need only look in a mirror. I keep living, forging a future unburdened by their drama, grateful the law recognized their twisted claims for what they were.